Awesome. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the UpliftED partnership meeting. This is our first meeting of 2021. We've all made it here past 2020, which we all know was an interesting year to say the least. We've got a lot accomplished last year. Really want to celebrate that and then look ahead at future. And our agenda for this morning, as you can see, we'll do that 2020 in review, looking ahead, have some networking in the beginning, and then look at our adult learner resource page, which we just launched earlier this year. We're super excited about it. And then we have two fantastic guests with us to share some information on preparing for this year's legislative session, and then updates and announcements. With that, just a little virtual housekeeping. Please tweet, or if you use Facebook, you can use Facebook, same exact at symbol, UpliftED's. Use the chat feature to ask questions, share information. If you're not talking, you can go ahead and leave your microphones on mute. And then use the reactions too. Do the hand clap or thumbs up when you like something. Any interaction you can have there with us. And then this is being recorded, so we can share with folks. So with networking, that'd be a really great idea. We're not in person, to go ahead, have some breakout rooms, see if we can meet someone new in those breakout rooms. And then thinking about what's one thing you hope we accomplish this year, and then what's one word that comes to mind when you think about UpliftED. So I'm going to go ahead and get folks into some random breakout rooms for a few moments. Fantastic. These sessions will end in 10 minutes, allowing everybody a chance to introduce themselves, talk about their connection with UpliftED, and then answer these two questions. Okay. So you should be put into a room. It might take a little while. On your computer. See, there's a few of you still out here. And Terry Ann, I see you're still here. Did you want to join a room?
Unfortunately, Daisy, I'm in a bit of a emergency with my boss, so I just put you on and was listening. So I appreciate it.
No problem.
I'm kind of multitasking, so I do apologize.
No problem.
I was directed to a breakout room, but there was nobody there.
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure why it keeps doing that. We can use this space too to chat. I'm not sure why it's doing that. But it's great. How is everybody?
Good.
I know not everybody in here can chat, but hi, I'm Daisy Franklin with UpliftED for those who might not know me. Great if we could introduce ourselves and then how long you've been participating with UpliftED. I've been as a volunteer with UpliftED for about 5 years, maybe 6. And I've been working as a consultant for about a year now, which is really exciting. I'm really passionate about this work. Susan Hodson.
Good morning, everyone. How are you this morning?
Good morning.
This is my first uplifted meeting. I was suggested to me by Robin Oliver that I join and participate in today's meeting. I have a nonprofit that offers a workshop that closes the gap between the many nonprofit financial assistance programs that are out there and the people that are looking for them. I've seen a number of people who are in financial aid, and we're all clear that there are many programs available and that just finding them is a challenge, and then trying to get through the application process can be a challenge. So I'm a grant writer and have helped clients to get government contracts. My children and I had a little fun roofless period 20 years ago, thanks to unpaid child support. So between all of the personal and professional experiences, I have a pretty comprehensive workshop that, again, helps people to find and apply.
Yeah. I'd love to chat with you after and see how we can get you plugged in.
All right, sounds good. Again,
and Susan Ambridge. Sorry.
No worries. It's a Zoom workshop series. That's all it is, Daisy. So yes, I'll look forward to chatting with you afterwards.
Awesome.
Susan Ambridge, can you hear me all right still? Because I'm still having technical issues.
Yes.
Okay. I'm a financial aid scholarship specialist at Plasencia College, and I've been here about 10 years. And I am new to Uplifted, but not new to working with Daisy.
Yes, Susan Ambridge and I have a long working relationship. So for about 6.5 years, we worked together in my former role, and she's fantastic. She knows tons about financial aid, scholarships, all of it. So I'm gonna say Susan H. Susan's. If that's okay, or Susan Sweeney. But Susan H. I know you're new. But what do you know about UpliftED and what excites you?
I literally just heard about Uplifted yesterday.
I love Robin.
And, or forgive me, I shouldn't say yesterday. I just heard on Monday. So I'm just learning what the organization is, but right off the bat, I get the concept entirely. I've worked with a lot of nonprofits in my lifetime, in addition to, running my own. I'm a grant writer. So, I've worked with a ton of nonprofits, Boys and Girls Club and Covenant House, and the title alone, Daisy, is just very exciting. It kind of says it all, frankly.
Awesome. We went through a rebrand. We launched 2 years ago now. Oh, wow. We used to be Central Florida College Access Network. So there's actually 16 or 17 now local college access networks in the state of Florida. We were the first in the state of Florida. Hence, we just had the name Central Florida College Access Network. And we quickly realized that it's more of not just about access, but about completion and persistence and completion. And that it's not all about the traditional students, about those adult learners who you never know what the beginning of their life was and maybe they weren't ready for college right away, or maybe they dropped out for whatever reason. Good morning, Robin. We're just doing a little bit of get to know you network session. And so we changed our name, we went through a process, UpliftED. So I'm glad that you like that. And Susan, you're also, Ambridge, you're also new to UpliftED. But what's one thing that comes to mind, one word that comes to mind when you think about us, and what's one thing you would love for us to accomplish? And we do have about 1 minute left in the group.
Really? On the spot.
Sorry.
I just think it's a great opportunity to get involved, to try to help people that are, like me, and the way I started out in college. I mean, I'm a 10th grade high school dropout who didn't think that I would ever be able to go to college, and I really like the idea of working with adults to try to help them see that there is other possibilities, especially, because I'm disabled and all kinds of things. So, yeah.
I might want to interview you. You have a great story. And then Robin Hendricks, Baker's Lent.
Good morning.
Good morning. We have 16 seconds left, but could you introduce yourself? You're also super new, so.
Oh my gosh. Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm Robin Hendricks Dakers Lynch, newly married. It's been a few months now, but I'm so excited to be working with Daisy. I'm so busy because I'm still in school. So I'm trying to catch you guys as I can and still be involved with you guys. But I love post-secondary. I love supporting students and young adults in moving forward. I'm working here at Orange Technical College downtown with the Orlando campus. So I'm so excited about dual enrollment and career and technical ed, and having students see other options for their post-secondary aspirations.
That's fantastic. Well, thanks for sharing. And I know people are coming on back to the main room.
Oh, okay.
So we will see when folks are all back. Hopefully you all got to know someone new or learn something new about them. So it looks like 10 seconds and then everybody should be back in here. Awesome. So welcome back, everyone. I would love it. I see that some of the rooms are still there. All right. So it'd be fantastic. I would love to hear your thoughts. So if you in the chat, that one word that comes to mind when you think about uplift, that would be great. So we can all see that. Service, access, opportunity, networking, assistance, sharing, commitment, and collaboration. Gateway, love it. And then how about the one thing you would like to see us accomplish during 2021? Hub of resources. We're going to show you one of those hubs today. We're really excited. So please, in the chat, share what's the one thing you would like to see us accomplish this year. Increased presence in the community. Interagency collaboration, networking with other groups to expand the support. Focus on adult non-traditional learners. Expanding programs throughout Central Florida to tackle unemployment issues. These are great. Continue to put those in there. Increase getting our resources. We're going to make sure to capture the chat because it'll help inform our work moving forward. Awesome. And I am going to. Perfect. Hopefully you all enjoyed that process. I know I did. I stayed here in the main room and there were people who were coming in. So that was really exciting to hear from them. So the next item we're going to talk about, and also someone did mention that my audio was going in and out. If that happens again, please let me know. My internet has not, it's been a little weak. So I apologize for that. And if it continues, I'll just shut my video off, which helps. But just chat and let me know if that happens, or you can come off mute and let me know if you can't hear me. So looking at 2020, this was the first year that UpliftED had someone who was really focused on moving the agenda forward. We strengthened our partnership specifically in Orange and Osceola counties this year. We combined the adult learner career connections and impact teams for meetings because there's three largest operating budget in our history through June of this year. We produced and published the Where the Jobs Guide. Thank you again to all the partners who worked on that. We developed metrics to gauge the success of our work as well as that of the county region when it comes to moving. Okay, I'm coming in and out again. So I'm gonna stop my video and then hopefully you can hear me better. Is this better for you guys? Mm-hmm. I apologize. It's always the day you have a meeting. Okay, great. I'm getting the thumbs up that it's better. We launched the policy M team. And we have a lot that we want to do this coming year. We deepened our partnership with Heart of Florida United Way, our backbone organization, in several aspects, which is exciting. We completed a 4-part development workshop series thanks to FCAN. For that, we joined the PEID Adult Education Committee, their College Readiness Through Completion Committee, as well as a subcommittee of that, the Paramore Post-Secondary Support Network, which has been really fantastic in meeting other providers who have a shared interest. We also became partner with the City of Orlando's National League of Cities Post-Secondary Basic Needs Project and developed the Adult Learner Resource page, which you'll see in a few moments, and much more. If anything comes to mind, I had it on here and I took it off. but we also said farewell, if you will, to our dear for, I believe, since the inception of UpliftED, 2013. But as you can see, she's still on the call, so she didn't really go anywhere, which we're really excited about. But she offered lots of insights throughout the years. Looking ahead, so we did launch the Adult Learner resource page on January 4th. We are going to launch a new resource, Next Step, or what is the next step, scheduled for late February. The development committee has been talked about, and that comes out of that 4-part series through FCAN. We're just waiting for some green lights from some specific partners for that. We're really excited about where that will take us. Strengthening of all of our partners in all 3 counties, and we're going to have special attention with Seminole County this year. We're looking to do some website upgrades so that we can have our data dashboard. We have those great metrics. We want to have a community scorecard for folks to see. So want to make that Where Are the Jobs guide interactive. We have received some sponsorship dollars for that. We're really excited. Now it's time to take it to the next level and really make it interactive. And then having the adult learner resources, some interactive pieces for that as well. And more in-depth, user-friendly scholarships database, which we already have one, but again, we want to make it even more user-friendly. We're in the midst of our first research project with UCF doctoral students, and we will have a publication in partnership with them, hopefully the 3rd quarter of this year, if not sooner. Or I know one of them is on this call, but they're working on getting some final approvals so they can move forward to the survey stage. Really excited about that. And then a potential long-term partnership with a data and research expert, launching of our Scholarship Maker Forum, a deeper look at policy, state and local, and much more based on your needs and what you shared earlier in the chat. So again, lots on the agenda to accomplish this year, and can't wait to continue on with that. Having some, there we go. So by show of hands, how many of you actually have had a chance to go ahead and look at the Adult Learner resource page? John Reeves with his hands, he's the one who created it. All right, well, we're gonna go ahead and take a quick look at that. So this was a project with our Adult Learner Impact Team in partnership with that PEDI Adult Learner Patient Committee. It's made for the adult learner, so keep that in mind. Usually most of our resources to date have been for the provider. This time, this is really for an adult learner who comes to our page and they want information. It talks to them. We did have a small focus group of adult learners providing feedback before the launch, and we took all of that into consideration. And then it is really easy tips, resources for those adult learners to get them connected in whatever stage they might be in. And then our next steps for this is we have these what if scenarios, and really to build on those, and then having a resource, a library, so a separate page with lots of text with resources. But the page itself is here. And if I could ask John, if you can stick the URL in the chat for me, that would be great. Here it is. As you can see, the look of it kind of takes from our Where Are the Jobs guide here. See that? But we talk about did you knows, what if, I'm, and those are those scenarios, top 10 tips for learners, and financial aid resources. So if you scroll down, the Did You Knows talks about some resources in the community. Again, we wanted to keep it short, small snippets so that it's easy for folks to read. One thing that the students told us is if something was wordy, they were very quick to let us know. They want to see something quick and get what they need and be on their way. So then we said, you know, you may be wondering what if, and then we have these, you know, boxes. So what if I'm unable to pay for school? You click on that. And then you come to a PDF, which you can save or you can print. What if you need money, scholarships, Career Source and Florida scholarships, the Blueprint program for City of Orlando residents. And then we also have a link here on all of these PDFs that go back to the UpliftED financial resources page. You can put this and do so. Again, they all come up with these PDFs. I'm a veteran. I didn't graduate high school. I'm a career changer. I don't speak English well. I don't know what career or certification I want. Then we have a prior learning glossary here for folks. One that we're looking to really develop, it's a need that came up right away, is for what if I need childcare? So what do people do if they're already working, or maybe they're not working, but they need to place their child somewhere so they can go ahead and focus on their schooling. So we're looking for those resources to develop that. But here, again, just to give you another look, this is what if I'm a, and we have a link to Mission United, which is a project through Heart of Florida United Way, Veterans Affairs Education, Veterans Central Florida. And again, a link always to how to pay for school, because that's a really big issue for folks. If you had a time to look at the page in its entirety, feel free to put any of your thoughts in there about the resource that you have. And then this is the top 10 tips for adult learners. This is something we published about 2 years ago now, if not a little longer. This is one thing we did get feedback on from me. So we're gonna work on another iteration of this. The tips are good. They like them, but they don't wanna have to read all of this. They see the words and they said they won't even read it fully. So we're gonna work on a part 2 of this, version 2. Of course, we wanna take everybody back to financial aid resources. So we have a link to that. Any thoughts on that? Feel free to unmute yourself.
I have a thought, Daisy. Just with the veterans piece, just so before it flies out of my brain, do we have any presence on any? I know that I think the mayor, I don't know if it's Mayor Demings or Mayor Dyer. There is a Veterans Resource Council that meets on a regular basis in Orlando. I know because I've seen it pop up still on my calendar. I didn't know if we had anybody there. Just a thought, just so we could write it down to just investigate. If we don't have a presence there, maybe we could grab somebody from that group to work with us.
For sure. And we've also had conversations with the Camaraderie Foundation.
Right.
To highlight them as well. Any other thoughts? And I know we didn't go through all of them, but I encourage you to do so at your leisure if you haven't already. give another moment for any thoughts.
Daisy, this is Robin. It's
Okay.
definitely user friendly. The other Robin. It's definitely user friendly. It's very easy to follow.
Awesome. That's what we aimed for. Thank you.
Mhm.
And if you wanted to take a deep dive and look at it and provide your feedback, please do. We have an actual Google feedback form that you could provide your feedback. With that, let's go ahead and really dive into what everybody is here for. I know you're so excited for this next session, excuse me, really on looking at our legislative session that's coming up. We have two fantastic guests with us. We have Kimberly Lent, who is the Assistant Director of Research and Policy with FCAN, the College District 50, and he's also, in case you didn't, the Higher Education Appropriations Subcommittee, post-secondary chair, and Kimberly Lent. And with that, I will give it over to you, Kimberly.
Thank you, Daisy. So good morning, everyone. So happy to be here with all my uplifted friends. Before we move into our wonderful conversation with Chair Plasencia, I just wanted to give you a few updates on FCAN and what we're working on in terms of policy and advocacy. So every year we're tracking legislation, meeting with representatives and senators to make sure that the concerns and of our LCANs and our students are heard. So a few things that you can look forward from us. We will publish the first week of session, a legislative preview talking about what's been filed to date, what conversations we're hearing. Midway through, we'll post an update. And then at the close of session, we will post a recap just to go through what actually made it through, what didn't, what we're hearing out of the governor's office in terms of what he plans to sign or veto. So, and all of those things. We are always here to connect with you all if you're having any concerns, if you want to talk through any legislation that's been filed, who to reach out to. But when Daisy said the group wants to talk about policy and advocacy, why talk to me when you have Renee Plasencia right in your district who can give you all of the good details. So with that, welcome Chair Plasencia to this meeting.
Thank you.
So my first question for you, I think a lot of the folks, you've been on these calls before, you and I have had these conversations before on these calls. I think most people know who you are, but we might have a few new people on the call. So with that in mind, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and why does post-secondary education matter to you?
Sure. So I was born and raised here in Orlando. My mom's from Puerto Rico, dad's from Cuba. So, you know, grew up in a very multicultural family on the on the west side of Orange County. And I was a graduate of UCF, and I then became a teacher and a coach, taught social studies for 15 years at Colonial High School. And I was also the head track and cross country coach. I never thought about running for any political position, but things just kind of happened, and I found myself in the middle of an election, and here I am in my last term in the legislature. You know, higher education is very important to me. You know, having said that, what committees we chair isn't necessarily our choice. It is a kind of a partnership that as far as how committee chairmanships and committee assignments are done between the representative and leadership, so the Speaker of the House, Majority Leader, and their staff. But you know, for the last 2 years prior to this, I chaired workforce development and tourism. And in workforce development, a big component of that obviously is higher education, which is the bulk of it. I also serve on the Southern Region Education Board, which is a 16-state compact, 16 Southern states, which deals primarily with K through 20 and lifelong learning. And so I've been on that board. This will be my 5th year. and I'm also on the Talent Development Council. So, you know, I would say fate kind of led me in this direction. And when the speaker was looking at who he thought would best lead higher education appropriations, which because of our budget shortfalls due to COVID, we're going to have to make some significant budget cuts, you know, a percentage of that's going to come from higher education. But that's what we're working on now. But the speaker saw my background. He knows my passion for education, for workforce development, and thought I'd be a good person to lead that subcommittee.
Thanks, and I'm sure everyone here today is glad to have your leadership representing Central Florida and the rest of the state on those issues. So my next question for you, session's going to look different this year than it has in the past. Some changes expected, like you mentioned, leadership changes. There's a lot of new freshman colleagues that you have this year. And then others not so expected. We couldn't really anticipate COVID-19 coming. So while, you know, you live this most days, I think I live this most days, I was wondering if you could dig into this a little bit more for those on the call to tell them about some of the differences that we can expect to see and how you think that's going to impact this session.
Yeah, this session will be drastically different from any other that I've been in because of COVID. You know, typically during a typical committee week or session, which we're in right now through our committee weeks, you know, we'll be in our office between our committee meetings, and we'll have meetings sometimes every 10 or 15 minutes with different organizations or different entities. And because of COVID, we really aren't having any meetings. The Senate's completely locked down. No one's allowed in or out of the Senate building. The House building, you're only allowed in by appointment, and you have to be escorted by someone's staff, so you can't wander around the building. And our committee weeks are being staggered so that we have less committee meetings on each week to limit the amount of traffic within the three buildings: the Capitol, the House office building, and the Senate office building. You know, and I'd say another thing that's limiting how, maybe not how effective, but to a certain extent how effective we can be, is we're very, at least I am, and I know a lot of my colleagues are, very reluctant to meet and spend time with other members. So often, you know, we have a members lounge where, you know, typically that's where we go for breakfast, we go for lunch, and we have an opportunity to sit with our colleagues and just, you know, we could talk about policy, or we just might be talking about our families, but it gives us an opportunity to sit down and kind of be human for a second. And, you know, we're not having those opportunities. And oftentimes that's when we get we can push a lot of our bills. So if I have, you know, let's say a native language assessment bill that I'm working on, that's my opportunity to be able to see 3 or 4 members of the first committee of reference and be able to hit them all at one time. I'll go to their table, I'll sit down and I go, hey guys, I just want to can you give me 5 minutes so I can tell you about my bill? And I can kill, you know, 3 birds with 1 stone during that lunch. And I won't be able to do that now. So it's going to make things more difficult. I would imagine we're going to get a lot less accomplished. I wouldn't necessarily think that that's a bad thing, because sometimes the things that we accomplish aren't in the best interest, in my opinion, for the state. I'm sure you can see throughout the years, you can take a look at some newspaper headlines and scratch your head and think to yourself, why did they pass that law? So, you know, there's a positive and a negative to everything. I always say that the less changes that government make, the better for the overall, you know, good of the community, because there shouldn't be that many changes from year to year. You know, we file over 3,000 bills a year. There definitely shouldn't be 3,000 changes every year to state law. You know, of those 3,000, typically anywhere from 10 to 15 become law. So it's not really that big of a number. But oftentimes you see laws that we create, we have to come back the next year and do, you know, a bill to fix unintended consequences to a law. So, you know, there's good and bad to everything, but it is going to be drastically different than in the past.
Yeah, and of course, we're all thinking of you, and we want you and your colleagues to stay safe, but also understand how that's going to impact some of the process. So with that also, I think a big way that advocates, I know me personally and some of the folks on the call engage with you and your colleagues are through those in-person meetings, you know, storming the halls of the Capitol. With that not an option this year due to safety concerns, how can we support you? How can we stay engaged in what's happening in Tallahassee and make sure that as a community, we're helping you know what's happening on the ground?
So, you know, visiting us in Tallahassee during committee weeks or during session, I think is great. But that alone isn't enough. And I think it's important to develop a relationship with your elected officials, you know, from the smallest level on up. So your HOA board president, your city council, your city mayor, your county elected officials, state and federal. And, you know, other than federal, the bulk of us spend most of our time, if not all of our time, in the districts. You know, a federal congressperson or senator, and senator is different because that's statewide, so it's really difficult to get time with them. But for us, you know, it's you know, scheduled time. I know many of the folks on this conference are in the higher education space or K-12 space. And you know, I personally, even though I was in the K-12 space, you know, the majority of my adult life, there's still more for me to learn. And I know that, you know, it's important for us to be invited to where you work and see what you do and see the people that you impact and how you're impacting them. It helps us do our job more effectively. You know, this year I have to cut a lot of things out of the budget. You know, I can see something on paper. It might say, you know, I got a stack of papers here, you can see, of conversations I have. So, you know, the University of Miami Medical Training Simulation Lab, you know, I see that on a piece of paper. It's a $3.5 million hit if we cut it, but I don't know the true impact of it. So am I really eliminating something that's having a huge impact, you know, on our state and on the city of Miami? And if I am, then that's a bad thing, and maybe I shouldn't cut it, but I wouldn't know that unless I visited it. So for many of you here who work at, you know, Orange Technical School or Orlando Tech, or you work at the ELC, or you work at Valencia, you might work at Seminole State, wherever it may be, it's important to invite your lawmakers to visit your campuses, to visit your place of work, to meet some of the students and some of your coworkers, so that we can understand the impact that you're having.
Yeah, thanks so much. Want to get back to, so Daisy mentioned earlier the leadership positions that you hold this session. So you're serving as chair of House Higher Ed Appropriations, and then vice chair of post-secondary and lifelong learning, which I'm just so excited about that committee and that we're calling out lifelong learning. I think that's so important to our state. Can you give us a snapshot, if you can? I know you've only had one meeting for post-secondary. You've had two now for appropriations. You have one this afternoon. Can you give us a snapshot of the conversations you're having or might have in the coming weeks?
Sure, and these are conversations that we've been having for a couple of years now. You know, we have to make sure we're seeing it now because of COVID. There's an accelerated disruption to our workplace. There's a percentage of our workers that are being displaced and will continue to be displaced by our advanced technology and artificial intelligence and automation. And it's in every industry. There isn't an industry that isn't impacted by it, some more than others. So the service industry is one of the industries that's most impacted by it, and it happens to be one of the industries that's one of the largest industries in Central Florida. So we're looking at a huge, previous estimates by 2030, a huge increase in jobs displaced. And the pandemic accelerated that, where what we thought would happen by 2030 will be happening now by 2025. And so we need to, you know, collectively come up with a plan on how we're going to address those issues. You know, that could be anywhere from you know, putting more emphasis on, you know, stackable credentials, going into our most underserved zip codes and bringing lifelong learning educational resources to those communities, as opposed to just being at one hub and asking for people to come find us. When we're trying to, lift people out of poverty, make sure that people who are in low skilled jobs get better skills, we need to make sure that they have access to it. And just having regional buildings isn't necessarily access. So these are the conversations that we have been having and we continue to have in that silo.
Yeah. So that ties in nicely to our next topic, the Talent Development Council. So you listed all of your all of the service that you give to our state and the southern region. I'm not sure when you sleep to your Plasencia, but I'm sure that you do and have time for your family and all of that. So as many know on this call, the Florida Talent Development Council was tasked by the legislature to set direction for our state to make sure that we reach our Sail to 60 goal for 60% of working age Floridians to have a high quality degree, training, or education by 2030. So in that legislation, House Bill 7071, the council was officially tasked to meet through the end of 2019. And I think something that's just so remarkable is that you and your colleagues on the council have continued to meet despite the fact that you're no longer legislatively mandated to do so. So I'd like to hear a little bit from your perspective. Why do you think you all are so committed to this?
So the members of the council, for the most part, have been doing the job that the council was created to do, from the onset of their existence. You're talking about the Florida Chamber, Council of 100, Enterprise Florida, Career Source Inc., the Board of Regents, the Board of Governors. You have, the Commissioner of Education sits on there, and so do some of the chancellors for K-12, for higher ed. So these are people that have been committed to that. That is, to a certain extent, their job description. That's what they're supposed to be doing. What the Talent Development Council does is it forces us to come together and have conversations more often about it, and have conversations, with the public and the entire state involved, because anyone can come in, anyone can be a part of our meetings, and at the end there's time for public testimony from anyone in the state of Florida who would like to provide any public testimony or any comment. So the good thing about the Talent Development Council is that it forces us to come together more often than normal, and it forces all of us to come together at the same time, as opposed to maybe 2 or 3 of us at a time. And then it allows for everyone in the state to be involved if they choose to be. And that's the important thing about the Talent Development Council.
Great. So I have one more question for you, but before I get to that, I want to make sure that you're connecting with your community as well, and allow you a chance to ask our audience anything that might be on your mind, Coach P. So while we can't have in-person conversations, we have the wonderful Zoom chat feature. So any questions you have for everyone on the call today?
Well, it's funny because one of the things I love about these conferences is I can Google everyone's name while I'm waiting. And so I saw so many people that either currently work or have worked for either Valencia, Orange County Public Schools. Everyone here is in either the K-12 or the higher ed space. There's a lot of questions I could ask. The good thing is, and I'll share with, for those of you who may not know, but I've spent quite a bit of time at, whether it's Valencia, both as a student and as an employee of Orange County Public Schools and as a legislator. And I do spend a lot of time with Valencia's government relations team, visiting campuses, speaking to President Shugart, and especially now in my role, but also obviously with Orange County Public Schools, especially when I worked in the ELC, I would always make that trip through the courtyard to the tech center and try to learn as much as I could. But it's not really any one question. It's just continuously learning. And I remember some things, but I forget a lot. And it was great. And I forgot the gentleman's name that I was speaking to that works for the community school program, which I think is a phenomenal program. And I probably knew this before, but I totally forgot that the department of the community school program that he works for runs all of our community schools all over the state, which I think is incredible that all of that is done from UCF, and that Evans High School was the first community school. So it's just continuously, talking to those of you who are on this call and learning, continuously learning and being reminded about the work you do. That being said, I think the important thing is my ask of you is try to keep tabs on the budget process. And if you see that a program that you think is important to you, or maybe it is your program, is on the chopping block, immediately call, email, get a hold of me, and share why it's important and why we probably shouldn't reduce our funding through that program.
Yeah, I think everyone on this call can probably deliver on that ask that you have for us. So I'm gonna, a last question before we open it up to see if anyone who's attending today has some questions for you. Gonna end it on a positive note because we've talked about some heavy things, the work that's to be done ahead. I think it's good to reflect on this has been a very challenging year for everyone, our state, our country, individuals, but it's also, I've seen, allowed for innovations and presented us with opportunities to support our state, our students in ways that we never have before. The example I always go to is institutions always said we couldn't do fully online, but it's felt like in a blink of an eye, we transformed the way we delivered education and made sure our students were safe and getting the education that they believe they need. So reflecting on your past year, is there anything you're particularly proud of, either in your personal, professional life, something that you're grateful for?
Yeah, it's a tough question. Well, I'm grateful for my family. I'm proud of my family. That's just something I'm always proud of. My wife, my daughters, my in-laws, my dad. I feel very fortunate that I have all of them, and that we're all here, especially under the circumstances where we see a lot of people. I think I'm relatively young, and I see people my age that are passing away because of the pandemic, and so I feel fortunate that we're healthy and we're happy and we have an opportunity. That I always look at the positive side of things, and COVID gave me an opportunity to spend a lot more time with my family, which I love doing. So if I could spend all day with my wife and my daughters or our daughters, then that'd be a perfect world for me. I would never leave my house. Proud of the tree house I built in the backyard. I'm finishing up the slide to come off the second deck. It's now turning into a not even a tree house, like a tree village. I've got 3 decks now. I've got swings on the bottom. I've got a slide going off the second deck to the bottom deck. And I was talking to my 12-year-old yesterday. We're trying to figure out where we're going to put the monkey bars. So that's fun for us.
I'm sure they're really happy with this new hobby that you've picked up.
I'm not so sure, but we'll see. My 12-year-old, and we've got a rock climbing wall that I'm doing on there as well. My 12-year-old's excited about the slide. My 2-year-old, I don't know if she understands it all that well just yet, but she will. So
she'll grow into it. So Daisy, we've come to the end of my formal discussion with Representative Plasencia. I think we're ready to open it up to questions that those on the call might have.
Yes, if you have any questions, feel free to either add them to the chat or you can unmute yourself as well and ask them directly.
Hi, this is Dr. Lisa Martino from UCF. Go charge on. I am in charge of the CTE teacher preparation programs. They're fully online technical education and career and tech ed at the bachelor's and the master's level. All of my degrees are in CTE, including my PhD, and I do research in CTE teacher education. And throughout my research, I found that the teacher preparation programs have steadily declined over decades, significantly. In 1990, there were 27 teacher preparation programs in Florida alone, and now there are 3 actual degree programs. My program, which is an online one that encompasses all the career clusters. We have an ag ed program at UF, and I believe we still have the business ed program at Bethune-Cookman. My question to you is, how do we, and this really doesn't even, it's not even about the budget. How do we increase CTE programs and workforce development programs without supporting CTE teachers or developing new CTE teachers to fill that requirement when there's just us? How do we do that?
So this is a great example of why this type of program that you guys are putting on, UpliftED, is important, because Lisa and I should have met a long time ago. So this is the first I've heard of it. And obviously I've heard plenty about how we don't have enough CTE teachers.
Now you know
so,
why.
Yeah, so I guess my first question is, I would assume, I could be wrong, but I think I'm right, that the number of programs you have is probably not decided by the state. Those are decisions that are made by your universities and your colleges on how they want to invest their dollars. The one thing I have learned is that you guys have a lot of discretion over the dollars that you do have. So I could be wrong, and if I am wrong, I please tell me. And so it's something that'd be an easy fix. I can find out, well, why have we reduced the amount of CTE programs in the state of Florida? But if it wasn't something that we did in statute, then it would have to be something that the universities have taken upon themselves. And I know what the universities will say. They'll say, well, we have budget constraints. We had to move money from one department to another. We had a need here. We had a need there. Well, we may disagree as a legislature on what we think your priorities should be as a university. I think that the priorities should be invested in doing, as opposed to right now we're UCF might be spending hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars over years in becoming a research institute. And so they're focusing more money on research, whether it's biomedical, whether it's modeling, simulation, whatever it may be, and less money in CTE. But my question is that, why, you probably know the answer, why has it shrunk?
Well, it has shrunk because of Florida statutes and the way CTE teachers have gotten their certification over the years, and the changes in that. And I did do an in-depth look at that in my dissertation, which is 150 pages, a little lightly, if you want to check that out. But there are multiple things, but it did start with government, and it really isn't about, well, huge amounts of money. It is about supporting the CTE teachers. You want to have CTE teachers because it's a different thing to certify a CTE teacher than it is an academic teacher. It's very, very different. You're trying to get CTE teachers who have experience in the field, right? You don't want to, and I've heard about the practice of taking English teachers and making them a science teacher, a computer science teacher, which is disastrous in my opinion, because it can only go so far. And that may be okay for the middle school classes, but certainly not secondary and post-secondary. However, so it's the process, and I've done a research study just recently. It's going to be published in a couple of months about quality CTE teachers and what we need to do to prepare them. So I do know if we want to have that conversation, I don't want to take everybody's time up, but we can certainly get connected.
Yeah, Lisa, I put my cell phone number in the chat box, and I put my personal email address. Why don't you send me a text? And we're gonna do better than you and I speak. we're going to speak with our staff in the House because, you know, that's all they do is higher education policy and appropriations. So what we can do is I can set up a meeting and you and I can first chat, then I'll set up a meeting with myself, you, and the appropriate staff, and we can go over each of the issues that you have, and we can address how we can make it better. So let's do that.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
One thing I will share also, this is a high priority for the Department of Education. So they're doing a ton of research. They just did their CTE audit, trying to understand what programs exist, the in demand, how they align with regional practices. So these conversations are happening in several pockets. And I think it's also sometimes it's important to keep in mind, not everything is big P policy, but sometimes little p policy. So Lisa, I think also perhaps, you know, if you want to talk offline, connecting with some of those other folks.
Certainly, anybody that wants to reach out to me, I will put my email in the chat.
Anyone else have a question? If not, Daisy, I'm sure folks wouldn't mind having some time back in their morning.
We want one other second. Thank you, Kimberly. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much, Chair Plasencia. I'm gonna get used to saying that versus just representative. Always want to say chair now. Congrats on that. And we have a tree in the backyard and a 3-year-old. So you're welcome to come on over and build us a tree house as well. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. If anyone has questions for Chair Plasencia, again, he did put his email address, his phone number in the chat. If you didn't feel comfortable asking directly, now feel free to reach out to him. And if you have questions for Kimberly regarding FCAN and their focus areas with policy, feel free to reach out to her as well. The last portion of this meeting is actually any announcements. Usually we do like a round robin. If anyone has announcements or events coming up, resources from their organizations that you want to share, please feel free to mute yourself and share that announcement, event, resource. If it's a link, feel free to add it to the chat. Idalia, yes, we will have a copy of the presentation as well as recording in one of our upcoming newsletters. So be sure to keep an eye out, and we do send a communication out every few weeks. If for some reason you're not getting that, shoot me an email with your information so we can double check, make sure you're on the list, and also check your spam. I've had multiple conversations about spam filters for the last week, but emails have been getting lost in there, whether it's from partners or from us going to partners. So, so with that, any announcements?
Daisy, I just wanted to make a quick announcement that we're currently recruiting for February 22nd. Culinary training program. So if you have anyone that's looking to start the training, we now are a hybrid. We do Monday through Thursday on site and then online on Friday mornings only.
Okay, great. And if you email the information, we'll be sure to include that in a social media post or in one of our upcoming newsletters also.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
I just put my Facebook group page in there. That's a page that focuses on CTE, usually for most of my students, but a lot of CTE stakeholders in the community are welcome to join, and you can connect with my students or my prior students, I post lots of CTE jobs on there. I also, in both of my programs, have an internship opportunity for those students who are in my programs. So if anybody who has a school or a program that would like to look at perhaps having an intern, it could be virtual interning or on site when that is possible for my CTE students. So I'm glad to connect with anyone about that.
Perfect. Any other announcements, resources, events? Hearing none, just so you know, if you're part of the Career Connections Adult Learners Impact Teams, you should have received already the meeting calendar request for the year, including the registration link that will allow you to register for any and all of the meetings for the entire year. The policy, scholarships, and financial aid impact teams, those dates will be going out shortly. We will be having all of those meetings in February, and we're really excited to have them. And if any of you, as always, we have an open kind of door policy, open Zoom policy. If anybody wants a one-on-one meeting, let me know, and we can schedule that. Just shoot me an email and we can get it on the calendar. But with that, thank you all so much for coming. We appreciate it, and look forward to connecting with you in the near future. Have a great day. Bye.